Okay. So, let's talk about some of these problems. All right. The first few problems on the test are going to be problems that are really just testing whether or not you can turn something from logarithmic form into exponential form. So let's try that. The first one, the base is what? 7. So this is 7 to what power? Equals x plus 5. That ends the difficult part of the problem, because from here, solving it is kind of an algebra 1 type thing, because 7 squared, that's 49, right? Which means x has to equal how much? 44. 49 minus 5 is 44. How do we do on that one? Pretty good? Okay, good. Now, that one we were solving for the argument. And solving for the argument is, I think, one of the easier ways of solving a logarithmic equation. This next one is also, it's not difficult, but you got to remember how to do it. But you started out the same way. What's the base? 2.8. So write 2.8 raised to what power? The x minus 4 power. And all that's going to equal what? 13. There you go. Now, this one's not as easy to solve because you're trying to solve for an exponent. What is an exponent? A log. A log is an exponent. So we're trying to do something with logs. So the easiest way, I think, is to do change of base formula. The change of base formula, forget about x minus 4. What if this just said x? How would I do this on my calculator? Would it be the log of 2.8 divided by the log of 13? Or would it be the log of 13 divided by the log of 2.8? Exactly. It's the log of the one without the exponent divided by the log of the one with the exponent. So if you're not sure how to do number 2, try this on your calculator right now. Does it matter how we type it in, like the log of 2.8 divided by? Yes. 13, it does matter? You don't put the log of 2.8. You're going to have to wait till the last one comes back. You don't put in the log of 2.8. It's not the log of 2.8 divided by the log of 13. It's the log of 13 divided by the log of 2.8. So it makes a big difference how you type it in. Try it like this. Type in log of 13, close the parenthesis, and divide by the log of 2.8, close the parenthesis. Now, the directions say round to the nearest hundredth. Should I round off at the beginning or at the end? The end, right? You learned through everything we've been doing that you don't round off till you get to the end. So you get an ugly decimal. Now that ugly decimal is what x minus 4 is equal to. That's equal to 2.49 and so on and so on. What do I still need to do to this to get the right answer? Add 4. So x is equal to, when I add 4, 6.49. On the test tomorrow, this is important, very important. I should have said this when we did number 1. Do you type in x equals 44 or do you just type in 44? 44. Just type in 44. Don't try to type in x equals 44. Don't type in, I think the answer is about 44, because the computer won't know what you mean. Just type in 44. If you think the answer is 44, type that in. Same thing here. Don't type in x equals 6.49. Just type in 6.49. That's it. Just like that. Otherwise, when you get done with the test, you're going to get frustrated and say, it marked mine wrong, even though I got the right answer. So to save yourself some heartache with that, just make sure you do it that way. Number 3. What's the base? X plus 5. X plus 5 to what power? 4th power is equal to 52.2. Okay, now, if this was x plus 5 squared, I would be tempted to figure it out. But do you want to figure out what x plus 5 to the 4th power is? I don't either. So there must be an easier way. What do you do to get rid of that 4? You need to take both sides to what power? The 1/4 power. Exactly. On both sides, if you want that to be a 1, which I'm sure you do, take both sides to the 1/4 power. That's the easiest way to do this problem, because that 4 is what's causing you all the stress, right? So if you want to get rid of that 4, that's an exponent. So take it to the 1/4 power. When you take something 4 to the 1/4, then what happens with these two things? They cancel out. And you get x plus 5 equals. Now you just got to use your calculator to help you figure out what is 52.2 raised to the 1/4 power. Does everybody know how to type that in so that it looks, oops, you can't see that. So it looks kind of like that on your calculator, 52 to the 1/4 power. Now, it's not going to be a nice number, is it? It's not. It's 2.687, whatever. But then I need to do what? Minus 5. Don't round off anything until you get all the way to the end. So in this case, if I round it off to nearest hundredth again, this would be negative 2 point what? 31, right? Hundredth is 2 decimal places. And again, on the test, you're not going to type in x equals, you're just going to type in negative 2.31, and that's it. Okay. That's honestly, I think, the most difficult problem that you're going to see in this first part, because most of the other ones, you just use the calculator, you hit the log button, it's not that hard. This one, you have to remember that you got to take it to the reciprocal power to get it canceled out. That's a little tougher, I think. All right, let's try number 4. The base is 2. 2 raised to the what? 3rd. That's equal to x squared plus 2x. And now it's an algebra 1 problem. We just took this down a level from algebra 2 to algebra 1. What is 2 to the 3rd? All right, now we got to go back to algebra 1. This is a quadratic. Quadratics, if you want to solve them, should be equal to what number? Anybody know? What? 0. Good. How do I get rid of that 8? How do I make it equal 0? Minus 8. So 0 equals x squared plus 2x minus 8. We are getting really close to the right answer now. Because now from algebra 1, you know that you can factor this. You could use the quadratic formula, but that's a lot of work. Can you think of 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to positive 2? 4 and negative 2? I think you're right. So x minus 4, x plus 2. Those 2 numbers multiply to negative 8 and they add to positive. Oh, wait a minute. Not right. If I add these 2 numbers, what would they add to? No, negative 2. I want them to add to positive 2. So, okay, you said the right thing and I wrote it down wrong. Sorry about that. It should be x plus 4 and x minus 2. There we go. But that's not the answers. The answers are the things that we would plug in here and here to cause them to equal 0. Negative 4 and what? Positive 2. Now here again, how you type it into the computer tomorrow makes a big difference. It's going to even tell you on the test. It will say, if you get 2 answers, put your answers separated by a comma. So don't put x equals negative 4, x equals negative or positive 2. Just do this on the computer, type it in like this, negative 4, comma 2. That's it. Just kind of write it like that. Or you could put 2 comma negative 4, because it doesn't matter what order they come in. Either way. But when it says that on the test, when it says if you get 2 answers, just separate them with commas, that's really all you got to do. Okay. So the hard part of that one was remembering how to factor. You had to do, that was a lot of factoring and solving you had to do there. How about number 5? We're adding logs. What is a log? A log is an exponent. And so when you're adding logs, what are you doing with the arguments? Multiplying. So write this down. You got to multiply those arguments. Now it's just like the last problem. What's the base? 3. 3 to what power? Equals. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Let's multiply these 2 things together. What is x minus 5 times x plus 5?
X squared and then minus 25.
That's right. Those are conjugates. In conjugates, the middle terms cancel out. Positive 5x, negative 5x. They cancel out. And so now you just have a problem that you can solve just like you'd solve any other problem. What is 3 to the 4th power? 81. So 81 is equal to x squared minus 25. I want to get x all by itself. So what should I do? I want to get rid of the negative 25. What's the opposite of subtracting 25? Adding 25. So that gives you x squared equals 106. Now what do I do to find the answer? Square root. Yeah, it's going to be an ugly number. We'll just let the calculator figure out. What's the square root of 106? Now, again, it says round to the nearest hundredth, and this is the part where you got to be careful. Okay? Don't do all this work correctly and then write down the wrong answer. What is this number rounded off to the nearest hundredth? 10.30. That's the answer. Don't write x equals 10.3, or I think the answer is 10.3. It's 10.30. That's it. Why did I put the 0 there? Because it says round to the nearest hundredth, and hundredth is 2 decimal places. So I put the 0 there. But that 5 right there, see that 5? That says I'm going to round that 9 up. When I round that 9 up, instead of 0.29, it becomes 0.30. Okay. Don't forget on the test tomorrow, when you have an answer or 2 answers, make sure you just separate them with a comma. That's all you got to do. All right. Now on to the really difficult problems. Story problems. They're really difficult. Formula for the loudness of a sound is given by this formula, where dB is the decibel level, I is the intensity of the sound, and I sub O is the intensity of a threshold sound. If the sound of a 68 Olds cutlass is calculated to be 511 times as intense as the threshold sound, what's the decibel level of the car? Oops. It is 10 times the log of 51 or 511 million. Type that into your calculator and what do you get? $87.08. Okay, now here's where you got to be careful again. Don't do all that work and then mess up on the rounding. Round to the nearest decibel. So what's the answer?
88, right?
87 point what did you say?
Oh, 87.
Okay, so if it was 87, I don't even know because I didn't type it in. If it's 87.1, what's that to the nearest decibel? 87. The answer is 87. Don't write 87 decibels. Don't write x equals 87 decibels. Don't write 87.1 because that wouldn't be rounded off to the nearest decibel. Just type in 87 and be done with it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Even though this is a big, ugly story problem, is it really just typing something into a formula? It really is. And by the way, it says divided by I sub O. Why didn't I divide 51 or 511 million by 1? It's the same thing, right? So you don't really have to. Just like number 7. The concentration of hydrogen ions in Colby cheese is approximately this number, moles per cubic liter. What's the pH of Colby cheese? I don't know. Let's type it in. On your calculator, type in negative log of point, let's see how many zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 8585. And that's it. What does it say to round to this time? Nearest 10th. So that's 1 decimal point. So just type that into your calculator. And what's the answer? How much? Try it again. I think it's 5.1. Try it. You maybe, when I did this the first time, I just didn't put in enough zeros. So you just got to be careful. Let's make sure we're typing this in right. Let's see here. Negative log 0.00008585. Did you just not have enough zeros? Yeah. So you get 5.1. 5.1. Excellent. All right. Any questions on the story problems? Is there another story problem? Ooh, there is another story problem. Yay. There's another story problem. This formula can be used to calculate the elapsed time since a person died. Didn't we just do this? We just did this, didn't we? So let's see. We just did a story problem like this. This is -10 times the natural log. That's one place where you could possibly mess up. Is it instead of common log, you put natural log. Natural log of T. Let's see. T was the temperature of the body, right? I think that's this, right? 77.5. 77.5 minus the room temperature, which was 68, divided by 98.6, which was person's normal body temperature, minus the room temperature. Now, this one's a little more complicated, but it still comes down to, can you type it into your calculator? And you can type it in however you want. This is how I do it. So whatever you want to do. First, I figure out what is the 77.5. 77.5 minus 68. I figure out what is that numerator. It's 9.5. Oh, I forgot. This isn't R. This is 68, isn't it? Then I divide that by parenthesis 98.6 minus 68. Do that like that. By doing that, I now know what this big ugly number is. This is the important part. Should you round off at this point?
Yeah.
No, don't round anything off. Now you go back to the original and type in -10 times the natural log. And now you let your calculator type all those numbers in for you by just hitting second answer. So you want -10 times the natural log of whatever this big ugly number was. And we calculated it to be that. Okay, now when I hit enter, it gives me 11.69 something something. That means it says answer in hours and minutes. What does the 11 tell me? The hours. So I know the answer is 11 hours. Now again, don't round anything off. I want to figure out minutes. So I want to get rid of the 11. How do I get rid of the 11? Subtract it. But don't round anything off. I want that whole big ugly decimal on there before I multiply by how many minutes in an hour? 60 times 60. Then round it off to what? The nearest minute, because it says hours and minutes. So how many minutes is that? 42 minutes. That's the right answer. Now on the test again, how do you type this into the computer? Here's how you do it. It's going to even say on the computer, just put your hours and minutes and separate them with a comma. So how would I type this into the computer so the computer knows what I meant?
11,
comma 42. Don't put 11 hours, comma 42 minutes. Just put 11, comma 42. If you do that, it's going to say, way to go, you got it right. That's it. All right, let's keep going with some of these. How do I do this one? How do you find the exponent? X equals what? How do you find a log? Because a log is an exponent. How do you do this? It's very quick and easy on your calculator. How do you type it in? Yeah, is it the log of 4 divided by the log of 272? Or is it the log of 272 divided by the log of 4? Is it the one with the exponent divided by the one without, or the other way around? Yeah, it's the one without the exponent divided by the one with the exponent. So on your calculator, you can do this without showing any work whatsoever. You just got to type it in. Type in the log of 272 divided by the log of 4. Make sure you close off the parentheses like that if you want to get it right. And this time it says round to the 100th, which is 2 decimal places. So this would be what? 4.04. And again, on the test, don't type in X equals like I just did. Just type in 4.04. Be done with it. Okay. Number 10. Well, the x isn't the exponent this time. This time it's the base. How do I undo something to the 6th power? You can either take the 6th root or you can raise both sides to what power? The 1/6. They really mean the same thing, right? You can either take it to the 6th root. The trouble with taking something to the 6th root is there's not a good button on the calculator to do that. It's very easy to type this in on your calculator, however. So all you got to do on your calculator is type in 492 and raise it to the 1/6 power. And there's your answer, 2.81. On the test tomorrow, just type in 2.81. Don't type in x equals 2.81. Okay. This one, what should I do? Give me a strategy. What? Well, don't even really need natural log on this one. I can see why you'd say that because it's e to a power. But you don't even need the natural log on this one. Is e to the 3rd power just a number? Yeah, can you figure out what that number is on your calculator? Yeah, try it. Type in e raised to the 3rd power. It's just a number. It's 20.08 something, something, something. Don't round it off yet. Because what do you have to do to get the answer? After you figure out what that number is, that's what x minus 2 is equal to. What do you have to do to get x by itself? Add 2. You could probably even do this one in your head. This would be 22.0, let's see, oh what? Is it 08? 09, good, because that 5 right there says we ought to be rounding that 8 up. Okay, again, don't type in x equals 22.09, just type in 22.09. That's all you got to do. Any more? There is. There's just 2 more. Well, that's not too bad. How about that one? What do I do with number 12? It's being taken to the 4th root. What undoes a 4th root? 4th power. Excellent. 4th power on this side, 4th power on this side. When you take a 4th root to a 4th power, they just kind of cancel each other out. X plus 4, oops, I was right the first time. X plus 1 equals, what is 4 to the 4th power? I have no idea. It sounds, yeah, it sounds like a big number. 256, yikes, that's a big number. Which means X is equal to how much? That's right. Which of course you're going to write like this on the test. I took 256 minus 1 because it's x plus 1. So what I did is subtract 1 from this side and subtract 1 from this side. All right. Last problem. How do you solve this? How do you solve a proportion? Yeah, you cross multiply. That's good. What is this times this? Well, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down the hard way just so that everybody who maybe doesn't understand what's going on. Well, this times this means this, right? This times this means this. I just taught my freshmen how to do this. So they would think this is very difficult. You guys are experts at this. What do you get when you do the file method or whatever, box method or whatever you want to do on this one? X squared. What are the 2 middle terms going to give you when you get 8x and negative 6x? What's 8 minus 6? No, 8 minus 6, 2. So that's 2x. And what's negative 6 times 8?
Negative 48.
Negative 48. And that's equal to, do the same thing on this side. Again, you get x squared. What's negative 2 plus negative 1? Negative 3. And finally, what's negative 1 times negative 2? Positive 2. A negative times a negative is a positive. Now that looks really difficult until what's about to happen? Yeah, what happens with those x squareds?
They cancel out.
They cancel out. You got one on this side and you got one on this side. You could just subtract x squared from both sides. And that's it. So you're left with 2x minus 48 is equal to negative 3x plus 2. Any suggestions?
-2.
Minus 2x? Okay, I would not have done it that way, but that's a totally good way to do it. These will cancel out and you get negative 48 equals, what's this? This is why I wouldn't have done it this way. What? Oh, add 2x? If you add 2x, they wouldn't cancel out.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah, what is negative 3 minus 2? That's what I just said. Negative 5. Why wouldn't I have done it that way? Because I'm afraid of negatives. I would have added 3x to both sides.
Oh, no, I was saying minus the 2.
Oh, this too?
Yeah.
Oh, that, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The trouble with that is then we still have x's on both sides. A good first step is to try to get the x all by itself. Now, could we subtract the 2? Now that's an excellent idea. Negative 48 minus 2 is negative 50. And then what? And that's again why I would have done it the other way, just because then we would have had positive divided by positive. But either way, you get positive 10. On the computer, you would just type in 10. Whew. There you go. That's it.